I removed almost every cheap escape from my life for almost 50 days. No social media scrolling, no alcohol, no cannabis, no sexual release, no running from myself. It started out as a 30-day detox, and it kind of became one of the most powerful discipline experiments of my life. Now, in this episode, I break down why I started it, what I removed, what was the hardest, what changed in my body, mind, business, relationships, and my spirit, and why I now believe discipline is the foundation of a free life. It's not about being perfect, it's about proving to yourself that you're still in control. There's no more hiding behind distractions or running away from my emotions. And what I discovered was not just that I had more time. I discovered that I had been giving up pieces of my life. I've been giving it away to things that were never supposed to master me. I thought that I was just breaking or taking a break from distractions. But what really happened was this. I finally had to face the version of myself that I've been avoiding. Now, by the end of this video, you're gonna understand what happened when I removed almost every escape from my life, why I did it, what it revealed about my discipline, and how you can use a less extreme version of this to start your own personal discipline journey. Now, before this detox, I thought discipline was something that's just nice to have, right? Something that you're like, hey, like, I'm disciplined in the gym. I'm disciplined here and there. It's kind of nice. But after 50 days, I realized that discipline is the foundation of a free life. It was torture. It was a torturous 50 days. I removed the things that I was using to numb myself. I found myself after a long day of work, sitting on the couch, scrolling through Instagram mindlessly, right? When I removed it, I had a little bit more freedom. I removed alcohol. I removed cannabis. I removed any sexual release. And that was the hardest one, to be honest. Because, man, I love women. I love them too much. And that was one of the most difficult things. I became mindful of my entertainment. I prayed more. I meditated more. I trained and worked out harder than I did for so many years. I created more. I found myself waking up in the morning with the desire to make music, to create something new, to work on another chapter of the book, or work on some creative stories, or work on poetry. Just more creation was flowing out of me. I recorded more podcast episodes and more YouTube videos. I was working on my business in ways that I hadn't worked in so long. I started to reconnect with my friends, my family. And the biggest thing was I started to rebuild trust with myself. I saw so much changes, and the physical changes were the most jarring. During that season, I went from 15% body fat down to 10%. And that wasn't the biggest transformation. No, I felt like I finally got my brain back. After so long of hustling and pushing and grinding, I felt like I was me again. Now, the reason that I started was not pretty. I lost the love of my life, and it's because I didn't have enough discipline in my life. A 3-year relationship dissolved, and when I really looked at it, I had to admit something painful to myself. I didn't have enough resolve to stick to my guns. I didn't have enough discipline to keep my vision clear. I didn't have enough internal boundaries to protect the life that I said I wanted to build. And after the relationship ended, I started drifting. I didn't know who I was anymore. I was literally losing myself. My birthday just passed. I'm 31 years old now. And it's been about 5 months since that split happened. And I could feel myself falling into a darker and darker and darker place. I stopped filming YouTube videos. I stopped recording podcast episodes. I stopped spending hours and hours focusing on my craft. And I started spending all of that time on social media. It wasn't until one day while I was sitting on the couch, it's a long day at work, long day. And I'm sitting on the couch, scrolling through Instagram. There's a voice that came to me and said, hey, Ty, check your phone. See how long you've been on your phone, your Instagram, your whatever. Just see the screen time. And I realized, okay, I looked and realized that I was spending over 12 hours a day on Instagram and YouTube. 12 hours. You know how much I could do in 12 hours? At the same time, I was making excuses about why I couldn't create content. And that's the moment that it hit me. Because I really had to ask myself, how can I say that I don't have time to build my vision when I'm giving half my day to someone else's business, someone else's platform, someone else's agenda, someone else's vision for their life? I'm fueling all of their vision. And that's when I knew I had to change something. Now, here's what most people don't understand. Discipline is not limitation. No, discipline is freedom. When you cannot say no to yourself, it becomes harder to say no to the world. When you can't control your own impulses, everything outside of you becomes your master. Your screen becomes your master. The substances become your master. The cravings become your master. The validation becomes your master. Comfort is your master. Distraction. And I didn't want to serve any of those masters anymore. Like back when I was, it's funny, I started smoking weed when I was like a teenager. It was ridiculous. I probably shouldn't have, but 16, I got hot boxed in the car with my friends. I started smoking weed. And at first I'm like, I'm straight edge. I don't like da, da, da. And I'm like, let me try it again. Let me see you. And as I was getting older, I started seeing how my life was so aligned to the master of cannabis. I had hemp soap. I had hemp clothes. I was going to school for fitness and health promotion to bridge into kinesiology so I could study the human body in motion under the effects of cannabis. It wasn't until I went to a meditation retreat that I realized that I was serving cannabis. It was my master. And I quit. I said, nah, man, I can't do this. I quit for so many years. I wasn't waking and baking anymore. Like my birthday's on 4/20, so I felt like I owed it to the culture to be a stoner. But when I realized that it was my master, I said, nah, man, I don't want that. And the same thing happened with social media. The same thing happened again. And I wanted to prove to myself that I was in control again. I wanted to create that internal boundary so then I can create external boundaries. Because if I could say no to myself, I knew I could start saying no to everything and anyone that was pulling me away from my vision. So what's up, millionaires in the making? Welcome back to the MITM Club, where we unlock success daily by journeying through the 6 pillars. My name is Ty Aarons. I'm the founder of the MITM Club, and today we're talking about what happened when I removed every distraction from my life for almost 50 days. And this is not a video that's just about dopamine. This is a video about discipline, self-trust, about getting your mind back and finally becoming free. Now, the first thing I need you to understand is that this detox didn't start because I was trying to be better than anyone else. It started because I was no longer happy with who I was becoming. I was drifting through life, and drift happens slowly. Many people don't realize drift comes and goes, right? Sometimes you're in flow, and all of a sudden you're like, where am I going? It doesn't look dramatic from the outside when you're drifting. You can still go to work. You can still train your clients. You have a nice smile on your face. You still look like you're functioning normally. But internally, you know you're not moving like the person that you're called to be. And that was me. That was becoming me. I was numbing myself. I was drinking whatever alcohol I had in the house. Like, I like to keep a little bit for, like, social occasions, whatever. But I'm like, hey, man, all the time. It's there, so I'm going to use it. I was smoking constantly. I got a CBD pen, right? Or it still has THC in it, but it's mostly CBD. But I was smoking that all day. All day. I was eating cookies all day. My sleep schedule was terrible. I was scrolling for hours, avoiding my emotions, avoiding responsibility. And really, I was avoiding the silence. my house was so quiet after being used to it being so loud. And the scary part is, I could still justify it. I could say, well, I'm going through a hard breakup. I deserve to relax. I've been working hard. I'm just taking time for myself to unwind. I'll get back on track soon. Yeah. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was not healing. I was hiding. And there is a difference. Healing requires you to actually feel the thing, experience the emotions fully, experience them, go through them, see them, and then move forward accordingly. Hiding will help you avoid those feelings. And I had to admit that I was using distractions to avoid the pain that I didn't want to sit with. So the detox became my line in the sand. It started out for 30 days. Once it got close to the end, I realized that the solstice was only a few more days away. And something inside of me was like, there's an energy around the solstice. There's a vibration going on. For the longest day of the year is when I'm going to end this fast. Right? So I kept going. In fact, it was only supposed to be 30 days. It became 50 days of proving to myself that I didn't need to be controlled by my cravings. And that was the first lessons. Sometimes you don't start discipline because life is going well. Sometimes you start becoming more disciplined because you finally get tired of watching yourself drift through life. Now, the second major lesson was how much time I was losing. When I saw that I was spending 12 hours, over 12 hours on some days, on Instagram and YouTube, I had to face something. It wasn't just screen time. This is lifetime. This is creative time, business time, prayer time, training time, relationship time. This is time I could have been using thinking or recovering or casting my vision far into the future so that I can pull the reality that I want back to me and start living my dream. Because as we all know, if you row your boat gently down the stream, life is but a dream, no? There's so much wisdom in children's songs that we don't necessarily realize. And I was giving it away. I was giving it all away. For what? This is what people need to understand about social media. You're not just watching content. You're giving away your attention. And attention is one of the most valuable assets that you have. Because wherever your attention goes, that's where your energy flows, and that's where your life starts to go. If your attention is always on other people's lives, other people's opinions, their bodies, their businesses, their drama, their highlight reels, your own vision will get blurry. And that's what started happening to me. I was consuming everyone else's work while making excuses about why I wasn't creating mine. I was watching other people build while telling myself I didn't have the time to build. And that was a painful realization. I had to admit it to myself. I wasn't lacking time. I was leaking time. There's a difference. A slight spelling difference. A lot of people say they don't have time. But if they were honest with themselves, they're losing time to screens, to substances, to distraction, to comforts. We numb ourselves. We're in a society that just numbs ourselves so much. And I say it with love because that was me. I get it. I know what it feels like. I know what it's like to be in that position. The detox forced me to reclaim my attention. And when I reclaimed my attention, I started getting clarity again. I started recording. I started creating. I started working on my business, making music, thinking clearly. Oh my gosh, the way that I could think clearly, having conversations with friends didn't feel like I'm just trying to hold on to what's happening and I'm half in, I'm half out. I felt the conversations more deeply. I felt more connected to the people that I was talking to while I'm talking to them. My mind, like I really got my mind back. It was coming back online. Like if I was in a haze for way too many days. And that's why I keep saying I felt like I got my brain back. Because when you remove the constant stimulation, Your own thoughts finally have room to breathe. Now, the third lesson was the hardest. When you remove the escape, you have to face what the escape was covering. So at first, my mind was loud. Oh, so loud. So loud. But that's what silence does. A lot of people think silence is peaceful. No, silence is not peaceful. I go to Vipassana. I try to go once every year. Vipassana is a silent meditation retreat. You meditate for about 8 hours a day, sometimes more, right? And in that silence, you realize how crazy you really are. Your brain is going all over the place. It's telling you do this, it's telling you do that. It's like, it's all vegetarian, vegan. You're eating at this time, that time. You're trying to be mindful of how you do everything. And your brain's like, nah, we need more cake. Nah, remember that thing that happened 3 years ago? Remember that thing that happened how many weeks ago? When you've been running from yourself, silence can feel really, really loud at first. But now there's no scrolling to distract you. There's no substance to shift your state. There's no random stimulation to pull your mind away again. No quick comfort to change how you feel. It's just you and the thing that really matters. And for me, all of my demons were right in front of me. The breakup, the disappointment, the lack of boundaries, the way that I was betraying my own vision, the ways I let other people down, the expectations that pulled me away from my own standards, the way I used pleasure, comfort, and distraction to avoid feeling out of control. I had to sit with that. I had to feel those emotions fully. And it was uncomfortable. It was mad weird. I hated it. I hate so many days. I'm like, I fucking hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. But it was necessary. Because the more I sat with those feelings, the more I realized something. The emotions are not the enemy. Avoidance is. The problem was not that I felt sadness. The problem was that I was trying to numb sadness. The problem was not that I felt stressed. It's that I was trying to escape the stress. The problem wasn't that I had desires. The problem was that I was letting desires lead my life. And when desires lead, discipline suffers. It's like, I want some chocolate cake. I fucking love chocolate cake. Well, why do you have a tie around your stomach instead of a 6-pack? You let the desire lead. This is where the detox started becoming spiritual for me. Because it was not just about quitting habits. It was an extended opportunity to observe myself, to pray, meditate, sit still, let the feelings actually move through me without immediately reaching for something to change the channel. That's self-control. Not pretending that you don't feel anything. Well, that's lies. Like, pretending that you don't feel is bullshit. You feel it. But feeling it fully and still choosing your standards. Letting the emotions flow through your body and still choosing the standards of life that you want. Okay? Now, I want to speak on this with maturity because this was one of the most difficult parts of the entire detox. Of everything that I gave up, sexual release and sexual activity were the hardest. And I don't say that to be dramatic. I say that because it revealed how powerful desire can be when it's been used as an escape, a reward, a distraction, or a way to regulate your emotions. There are moments when the energy in my body felt intense. There are moments when I felt supercharged. At first, the energy felt like it was pulling me towards lust and desire. But I had to ask myself, what if I didn't waste this energy? What if I redirected it to create, to train, to build, to pray, to become stronger than I've ever been? So when those urges came up, I started to transmute those energies. If you guys know the book, what's the book? Think and Grow Rich. They talk about transmuting sexual energy and sexual desire. And you can start to take that energy and transmute it into creating riches. So for me, I wrote stories, I wrote podcasts and recorded my podcast. I made music. I worked out harder. Like I'm feeling pretty jacked. You know, I'm feeling good. I moved more weight. I worked on my business more. I prayed. Like I would wake up. Some days I'd wake up at 3 a.m. Like I was just waking up regularly, 3 a.m. Couldn't help it. Almost every day, 3 a.m. And I'd sit. I'd go to my meditation stool and I'd meditate for like an hour. I'd go for morning jogs. I hate running. I hate running. But just to get out of my mind and to get away, I would go outside. I'd leave my comfort zone. I'd go run. I even added in a 3-day food fast during the detox just to push myself deeper into the process. This is where I learned something powerful. Desire is not bad, but desire needs direction. If desire does not have direction, it can become another distraction. And when desire is directed, it can become creative power. So around day 30, the intensity started to settle. I got used to the feeling of energy moving through my body. I actually felt it coming up and down like a wave up and down my body. And I tried to take it and push it up into my head while I was meditating. It was very interesting. I was using one of the processes that is taught by Joe Dispenza. There we go. I was using teachings from Dr. Joe Dispenza, taking the energy, pushing it up into the head. And I stopped feeling like I had to react to everything. Like the first 2 weeks, every girl that walks by me like, wow. It was terrible. But I felt less and less the urge to react to everything. And that was a major win for me. Because discipline is not just doing the right thing when it's easy. Discipline is being able to hold your standards when your body, your emotions, your habits, they're all trying to negotiate with you. And that was the deepest lesson for the detox. Now, the fifth lesson was that once I removed the distractions, my body and focus started changing fast. My sleep actually got better. At first, it was really tough. I'm waking up at 3 a.m. all the time. But then I started sleeping and then waking up early in a way where my energy is just balanced, right? I want to go to sleep around 10. I feel like I'm not scrolling and staring at a screen all night. So I'm going to sleep at a better time and I'm waking up nice and early. And I felt energized in a new way. I was less tired. My focus was sharper. My workouts were more intense and more frequent, realistically. I felt alive. And people started to notice. People kept telling me, oh, Ty, you look more muscular. Oh, Ty, you look like you slimmed out more. Oh, there's a certain brightness to you. I was having random people stop me on the street to share stories about their lives with me. And they're like, there's just something about your energy just made me comfortable coming to talk to you. That just made me feel like I could share this with you. And I'm like, what is this weirdness going on? And I'm like, hey man, I'm here for it. My confidence started shifting. And it wasn't just because of how I looked. It's because I knew what I was doing. I shared it with a select few people. I told them what I was doing. But generally walking into spaces, no one knows what I was up to. And I felt good. Now there's a different kind of confidence that comes when you're keeping promise to yourself. It's quiet, but it's powerful. You don't need to explain this to anybody. Okay? You just know. You know you're not lying to yourself. You know you're not folding under the pressure. You know you're not sneaking away from your own standards. You're doing the hard thing. You're doing something that's difficult. And that creates a different posture, presence, energy. I saw a major change. I already told you guys I went from 15% body fat down to 10%. But the mental clarity was wild. I felt like me. Back in my own mission. And that is really what discipline gave me. Not restrictions, but power. The sixth lesson was unexpected. I didn't expect this change to happen. I thought the detox would mainly affect my habits, but it affected my relationships with other people. Because when I became more present with myself, I became more present with other people. I started spending more intentional time with friends, reconnecting with people that I had drifted away from quite some time ago. When I was having conversations, I was actually listening and not just nodding along, not just waiting for my turn to speak, which I talk a lot. I do that quite frequently. I wasn't half listening while thinking about my phone. I was there, I was present. I was asking follow-up questions. I was seeking to understand. I felt like some of my friends, actually I'd say two of them in particular, we've been friends for years and years and years. But during this detox, I felt like I could finally see them. I could finally be there with them in a way that I had never done before. It was so interesting. And interestingly, on the other side, I lost people. Yeah, I lost a bunch of people in 50 days, right? Or maybe I should say I saw some relationships differently. Because when you start taking better care of yourself, it can make other people uncomfortable. When you stop being available for old patterns, people start to notice. When your standards rise, certain dynamics no longer fit. It was crazy. It's crazy to see it happen. When your relationship with yourself gets stronger, your tolerance for disrespect gets lower. When you have that self-love, you love yourself so much, your tolerance for bullshit drops. That is exactly what happened to me. My standards for how other people treated me rose because my standards for how I treated myself rose. And that is a major lesson. Self-discipline is not only about what you do when you're alone. Self-discipline changes what you tolerate with others. You stop betraying yourself privately, it becomes harder to let other people betray you publicly. And that's why this detox wasn't just about habits, it was about boundaries. Like, the mission was simple. I need internal boundaries to have external boundaries. If I can say no to myself, I can say no to others. And that changed the way I moved. Now, the seventh lesson, let's say this is maybe one of the most important ones, is that I rebuilt self-trust. Before the detox, I believed I could do hard things. But after doing that 50 days, I knew that I could do hard things. There's a difference between believing and knowing. When you tell yourself you can do something, that's just a belief. But once you've actually done it, now you got evidence. Every day that I went through it was another day of evidence. Every day that I didn't scroll was more evidence. Every day I stayed away from any sort of substances was evidence. The more I controlled my urges, more evidence. Wonderful. And it stacks. And that's what people misunderstand about discipline. They think discipline is about, I don't know, discipline is about just being hard on yourself. But discipline is actually how you build relationships with yourself, how to build a strong relationship with yourself. Every promise that you keep with yourself, every promise you keep in your mind tells you can trust me. Every promise that you break tells your mind, hey, maybe you can't trust me. If your brain can't trust yourself, then you're kind of screwed. That's why so many people struggle. They started and stopped so many times that they don't even believe their own words anymore. They say, no, this time I'm serious, but they know that they don't trust it. The way that you build that trust is not by making giant promises. It's by making one clear one day after day. And for me, that's what the detox did. I stacked a lot of things at once, but it gave me proof that if I say I'm gonna do something, I can do it. And that confidence carried into everything, into my fitness, my finance, my lifestyle, my leadership. Your whole life changes when you choose to trust yourself again. When you do something that lets you trust yourself again. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you that I removed every cheap escape from my life for almost 50 days. And now you understand This was not necessarily about social media. It wasn't about alcohol or cannabis or sex. It was about freedom, control, self-trust, boundaries. It was about proving to myself that I don't have to serve every craving, every urge, every distraction, every comfort, escape that calls my name. Ty, please. Ty, come on. Come hang out. The water's great. And that's why I believe discipline is the foundation of a free life. Because when you're not disciplined, everything else owns you. Your phone, your cravings, your emotions, your habits, your impulses, people, everything else owns you. You're just a pawn, a puppet. But when you build discipline, you start to take your life back. If you feel addicted to distraction right now, my advice is simple. Take some time to be still. Remove some of the distractions out of your life. Shift the addictions to a new game. Build a new streak. Give yourself a standard. Tell people what you're doing so they can hold you accountable. Like, don't do it quietly. If I had done this silently, maybe I would have caved in early. But I posted on my Instagram and said doing a 30-day detox, and I told a bunch of people near me because I wanted external accountability while I was building internal strength. I was weak, okay? I was weak. I know it. And I needed some help. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do this extreme version that I did. Nah, don't do it, okay? It was really hard. You're probably not gonna be able to do it. For all of you that have a chip on your shoulder and when someone tells you you can't do it, I know you're about to do this detox. I know you're about to do the detox. Comment down below if you are. But you don't have to remove everything at once. You just need one discipline journey. You need a reset, a standard, a proven something to prove to yourself that you're not as powerless as your habits have made you feel. Now, I told you guys, I'll share an easier version of this that you can do to start to build discipline in your life, to start to trust yourself again, right? That's what the 30-day lock-in fitness challenge is. That's why it exists. It's a simple, less extreme way to start this journey, okay? You train, you track, you check in, you build some streaks while earning some points, you create accountability, and you stop drifting. You start to prove to yourself that you can follow through. Because discipline is not punishment. Discipline is actually freedom. Now, before the detox, I thought discipline was just a nice thing to have. But after the 50 days, I realized that discipline is the foundation of a free life. So if this video hits you, hit subscribe, join the tribe, and share this with someone that you love, especially someone who feels like they're losing themselves to distraction. And if you're ready to start your own discipline reset, join the 30-day lock-in fitness challenge. Because you're a millionaire in the making. Now it's time that you actually move like that. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.